Hello and welcome to What Shara Made, a knitting and crochet podcast, and it's episode 84 today. So welcome back if you are a returning viewer, and a big hello if this is the very first time you're joining me. I've got quite a few whips all sitting in front of me here, and I've got a couple of FOs and I've got some acquisitions today. So I'm going to dive right in with my whips today. So my first one is a crocheted item, and it's got no pattern. I'm just making it up as I go along with varying degrees of success. I've pulled it out and I've redone it, and I've pulled it out and redone it a few times now. I've tried several different hook sizes. I've tried several different variations on the pattern that I'm making up to try and get it to work. And I think I might have gotten to a point where it's sort of working now. So this is it here. I wonder if I can show you. It's not done yet, obviously, but here it is going. So you can see what's starting to happen. It's going to be a top like that. It's going to be a vest that you might wear over a shirt or a long sleeve t-shirt or something like that. So straps, a v-neck, and if I stand up a little bit you'll be able to see how the rest of the body is going. I'm going to put another triangle in there to cover over the underarm part so it's not quite so revealing there, and few more squares here, and then flatten out the bottom with some more triangles like these triangles here, but they'll be going that way. Obviously I've got some space to fill in here with some more squares and then some triangles, and then I'm going to pick up around here. I think I'm going to put another triangle at the back there so the back's not quite so deep. And then I'm going to pick up around the neck here and knit a neckline in probably 1x1 rib, keeping the V-neck shape intact. And then I'll pick up around the armholes and do just a little band in 1x1 rib. And then I'll pick up around the waist as well and do a band in 1x1 rib as well, just to sort of contain it. So yeah, that's what's going on. Here. I quite like the way the yarn is coming out. The yarn I'm using is this one here. That's a pretty good representation of the colours and the speckles. It's Malabrigo Rios, which is a pure wool. It's a 10 ply or a worsted weight, and this colourway is called Siri. It's a really nice yarn. If you've never used it before, I can recommend it. It's lovely. I've made a few garments out of it, and yeah, beautiful. They're all really lovely. So that is this one here. I've used two hanks so far. They come in 100-gram hanks, and I've used two so far, and this is the third one. I've only made one square out of this so far. I think I might be able to finish it with this, but I'm not sure. I'll see how I go. I might need a fourth one, but that's okay. They sell it at my local yarn shop, so I can just grab another one if I need it. So that is my first whip. I'm really enjoying how that's coming out. I was desperate for a vest. I kept thinking, because we're in spring now, it's really trans-seasonal weather, and I kept thinking every time I got dressed in the morning, if only I had a vest. If I had a vest today, that'd be perfect. If I had a vest. So I thought, why don't I make one? I better make one. So I had this idea to make this vest. And I'd been looking around for ages for a pattern. And what I had in mind didn't exist yet. So that's how I ended up making my own pattern. And it took a while to get the squares. I knew I wanted like upended squares like this, and I didn't want to just do plain granny squares. And it took a while to get one that was the right dimensions that would work and fit into the right shape and size and everything. It took ages. Eventually I got it to happen, and now it's coming together quite nicely. And I'm doing a join as you go method. So on the last round, I join one part of the square to a previous existing square, so that I'm not having to do so much joining of individual squares. And that seems to be giving a nice finish, and maybe fewer ends to weave in, I don't know. There's still a lot of ends to weave in, but I'm not too worried about weaving in those ends. That's an easy thing to do while you're sitting in front of Netflix or whatever. So yeah, I'm quite enjoying that. I'm looking forward to wearing it. I would love to get it finished this weekend, but I don't know if that will happen, but fingers crossed. So that's my first whip. My next whip is the Souffle by Laura Penrose. I've got my show notes sitting up here, so if you see me darting off up there, that's why. So the next one is the Souffle by Laura Penrose. And I kept seeing this, people making this, and it was popping up on Instagram, and I just loved every single one that came up on Instagram. I was like, I don't need another project, I really don't, but I had to do it. So here is mine. Really doesn't look like much at the moment because, yeah, it really doesn't. Just looks like a big furry blob. So here is mine so far. Oh goodness. It's very furry. So that is it so far. Very furry. So I've done the yoke and I've separated for the sleeves only just. And the sleeves are on hold. And I'm doing the body. So I've only just started doing the body. But the yoke, I don't know if this is apparent, but you can sort of see through it. The yoke is done using one strand of mohair, lace, silk mohair blend. And then once you get past this part here, you can see this little pearl bump here, you then start using two strands of that yarn for the body. And I'm also incorporating a strand of this. Ooh, looks really nice and shiny in my little studio lights here. But I'm only putting this every 7th, or is it 8th row? It's in my notes, but I haven't worked on this for a couple of weeks now. So I don't know if you can see it. Every now and then there's a subtle little sparkle. So there's just a tiny hint of sparkle, not overall sparkle, but there's just a little bit of sparkle in there. Every 7th or 8th row there's a row of glitter. But in the souffle pattern, once you've actually knit the sweater, so you've done the yoke, the body and the sleeves, you can do a short sleeve or a long sleeve version. I'll be doing a long sleeve version, that's my plan. Once you've done all that, you then pick up stitches around this pearl bump that goes all around the yoke, and then you knit a ruffle. I know ruffles aren't for everyone, but they are for me. I love a ruffle or a tassel or anything like that. Love an embellishment. And so your jumper has a ruffle all around the yoke, which I really adore. And then you do pick up stitches around the neckline and do an I-cord bind off. You see it has a little opening at the back of the yoke there, and you do a little I-cord around there too, and then a button on the back there. It's quite cute. And you do I-cord around the wrists as well. And I'm really looking forward to wearing that. I think it's going to be quite sweet. I'm probably going to look like a little Ewok wearing it because it is furry. It is really furry, but that's alright. I don't mind. And the yarn that I'm using to knit that is a Lance de Nord Super Kid. I don't know if that's going to show up on here. Here we go. Lance de Nord Super Kid, which is a mohair silk blend. It's really lovely, and the colour I'm using is called Walnut. And this one here is called 10 Shiny Shades, and it's by Katia, and it comes in 10 different colours, as the name suggests. And I've got the dark gold. It's pretty cool. And that's a bamboo polyester blend. It's pretty nice to use. It's ultra fine, as you can see. Doesn't really add to the add to the gauge, so you can add it into things that you want and it won't affect your gauge. So yeah, pretty cool. Love it, love it, love it, love it. So that's the Souffle by Laura Penrose. Now, next. My next one that I'm making, a little bit daring, a little bit risque, is called the Ripple Halter by Jessie Made. I've made a few patterns by Jessie Made. I'm obviously a fan of her designs. This one is a little bit different to things I would normally make, but I saw someone else on another podcast make it, and it just looked like so much fun. I thought, yeah, I think I can make that, and I think I can make it work for me. Maybe, but we'll see. I might end up giving it to one of my nieces, but that's good as well. So this is the Ripple Halter by Jessie Made. So it is indeed a halter top, a knitted halter top. I've modified mine a little bit so that it's not so exposing, but that's all good. So you can see how it works. This part is for your neck here, and I can hold it up, and this part goes around your bosom like that, and yeah, you can see how it works. So yeah, this part goes around your boobies and this part around your neck, and it comes down there, and obviously I'm making it longer, otherwise it's may as well be wearing a bra. Yeah, so you can see how that works, and it's got some really cool details. It's also got some cat hair stuck to it, not my cat, but I was knitting this at a friend's place and they have a white cat. So yeah, there you go, you can see the cool detail on it. So it is a whole lot of 2x2 ribbing, yeah, but also lots of really cool shaping detail, which I find most appealing. So I know that's blowing out, but it gives you a great idea of the detailing. So these lines come in while these ones, pardon me, go out, and it creates this really nice silhouette, detailed silhouette. And I think it'll look nice. I'm not sure if I'll be just wearing the halter top as is, or if I might wear it over like some long sleeve tops, stuff like that, so wear it like a vest. But either way, I'm really enjoying it. It's been a really fun knit. I am punishing myself a little bit by knitting in pure black 4-ply. It's really hard to knit at night, obviously, so it is a daytime project, and I don't get a lot of time to knit during the day. I'm sure most of us don't, but yeah, it's really fun. So I'm actually looking forward to wearing it. I think it's going to be really groovy. So there you go. If I end up like when I finish it, if I end up wearing it and it's just too wild, I'll just give it to one of my nieces. They're pretty groovy, and they're like 20 years younger than me, so yeah, so there you go. knitted halter top. Never thought I was ever going to knit one of those, but there you go. But I'm really loving it. The pattern is really well written. It's got great tips on how to alter the pattern to make it more modest, which I did do, because you can make this front panel. I knit my front panel a little shorter so that it would stop somewhere around here rather than coming right down, so that I can still wear undergarments with mine. I noticed on some people's, I was looking on Ravelry, and some people's the side came right down here below their natural bust, and so a lot of side boob was exposed, and I don't really want to do that. So cool if you do, but that's not for me. So I stopped my front panel a little earlier, and there's instructions on how to do that and still keep the correct amount of stitches and things like that. So that was really great. I love hints and tips like that in patterns. It's really cool. And it's actually a really simple pattern, but really clever at the same time. So best of both worlds. Thoroughly enjoying this pattern. It's actually quite relaxing. She gives you really cool tips on how and where to place your stitch markers and to use different colours for certain things, and love stuff like that. Really clever, beautiful. And I've got my little needle stoppers on the ends of my needles there. I got those from a company in Western Australia called Rainbows and Sprinkles. Really cool. I've got lots of stitch markers, needle stoppers from them, and I really enjoy them and they come in so handy. So that is the Ripple Halter by Shara Made. Oh, and the yarn I'm using to knit that is a pure wool, and it's Peyton's Baby Dreamtime, and it's a 4-ply or fingering weight yarn, and it's super soft and smooth, really beautiful, easy to get your hands on in Australia, and my local yarn shop sells it, so it's easy for me to get more if I need it. I've used 2 full 50-gram balls so far, and this is my 3rd ball. I don't know if I'll eat into, I got 4 balls in total, but I don't know if I'll actually eat into that 4th ball, but that's fine. I can always use black 4-ply. And now my next whip, I think in my last episode I talked about wanting to cast this on, but I don't know if I'd actually cast it on yet. But it is one of my cast-ons from yarn that I got at the most recent Australian Sheep and Wool Show in July. I'm knitting another Oxer by Caitlin Hunter, and I loved my previous one that I knit earlier in the year so much that I have started another one. So I haven't gotten very far yet. I'm only into the yoke, and this one sort of got put on hold a little bit so that I could work on more seasonally appropriate items, but never mind. So here we go. You can have a closer look at the yoke. I wonder if I can spread that out a little bit for you so you can get an idea of the textures. Sort of. Might have to wait until it's off the needles and blocked. It can be a little bit difficult to see the textures in this beautiful yoke while it's still on the needles. Oh, there you go. It's got some really lovely textures, this one. Another really enjoyable pattern. I don't know if I spoke about it regarding my last Oxer. I started knitting one size and realised partway through the yoke that it was going to be much too large, and I went down a size but didn't want to unravel the yoke, so I just started knitting the smaller size, which was doable. The chart for the yoke had the same amount of stitches widthwise, but it was a longer yoke and wasn't quite up to doing I wasn't quite up to the point in the yoke where you had to do extra increases for the larger size, so I was still able to just swap over to the smaller size, which was really handy. So this time I just started on the smaller size, which was much more sensible, and that will make a shallower yoke as well, which will be handy because the yoke in the other one, my previous one, was a smidgen too long for my liking. But it's working quite well. In my previous one also, I did feel that the neck was quite wide, and a lot of people have mentioned that on Ravelry as well. So I did put a little bit of elastic around the inside of the neckline on my previous one, and that worked a treat. You can't see it, it doesn't look cinched in or anything like that, it just looks absolutely fine, and it brought it in just enough to be wearable, and it also keeps its shape. Because the yarn I used in my previous one, which was a bamboo wool blend, had stretched well out of shape. It was the wrong kind of yarn to use for that project. This one's much more suitable, so it probably won't stretch out of shape quite as much, and I might not even need to do any amendments to this neckline, but I'll see when I'm finished. So that's the Oxer by Caitlin Hunter, and the yarn that I'm using is Pirate Pearls. Pirate Pearls in the Mainstay 8-ply or DK weight in Tucked In Tight, and it's 100% Corridor, and it's really beautiful. Like, I wish you could feel it because it's so lush. It's beautiful and soft, but also feels quite robust at the same time, and that's Corridor. That's the characteristics of Corridor, but it's also taken up the colour beautifully as well, with ever so slight tonal features, but not mottled or variegated in any way. Just this ever so slight tonal factors. Beautiful. I absolutely love it. The colour, stunning, and a really gorgeous stitch definition. I'm really enjoying working on this, and of course I've got my rainbows and sprinkles point protectors on those. Really enjoying that project. So that's my Oxer by Caitlin Hunter, and that's all my current whips. So that's quite amazing. They're my only current whips. That's because I actually finished a few things. One of the things I finished but refinished is this jumper, or this sweater. You might remember this from previous episodes where I talked about it because it wasn't quite right. Well, I fixed it. Now it's wearable and I'm madly in love with it. So this is the Great Gingham sweater by Jessie Made. So clearly a fan. When I first made it, I followed the pattern exactly as written, and the yoke was miles too deep and the neck was too high. The front and back are identical. You could wear it backwards or forwards and it wouldn't matter because everything was the same. There was no yoke shaping or neck shaping or anything like that, which as a result meant that the front of the neck sat up very high and the back sloped down, and it created a bit of an uncomfortable, awkward pout at the front, because that's what sweaters do when they don't have any shaping. And uncomfortable, awkward. So I knew what I had to do, which was bring the yoke, unravel it, bring the yoke down to a point where I could do more frequent decreasing in the yoke so that the yoke decreased more steeply. And then I would have to do short rows at the neck, so because it's knit from the bottom up in the round. So keep that in mind. So I knew that if I could do the yoke decreases more steeply, it would shorten the depth of the yoke. And then if I did short rows at the neck here, it would mean that the front could be lower and the back could be higher. So that's exactly what I did. I took the yoke back unravelled it, took the yoke back, which was much further down than I thought. It was much more re-knitting than I thought it was going to be, but that's all good. Probably to about here, I'd say, maybe here. Anyway, it doesn't matter. And then continued doing my yoke decreases every row. There was no rest rows in between. I did yoke decreases every row all the way up to here. So, here. And then I did short rows beginning here. Starting here, I believe. Here. Anyway, doesn't really matter. So going back all the way around to here, and then going back all the way around to here, and back all the way around to there, so on and so forth, until I got back to my raglan decreases. And doing short rows in that, I use German short rows, doing short rows in that manner allowed me to get all the way back up to there, keeping the pattern intact, and it allowed me to get a whole extra repeat of the chart in the shoulders and the back, so the whole back is that much higher and the front is that much lower, which was exactly what it needed. Now it sits properly, the yoke is the right depth, which also shortened the body, which was an issue. The body was way too long because the yoke was too long, and it also shortened the sleeves, which was also an issue. The sleeves were too long because the yoke was too long. So now the sleeves are the right length for me. I like my sleeves to be bracelet length, longer than 3/4 but shorter than my bracelet. And the body is just the right length to, I can show you where it comes up to, but my waist, so my natural, like where my jeans are, and it's perfect. I adore it. Now it fits exactly like I imagined it was hopefully going to fit when I first started knitting it. It's perfect. I absolutely adore it. I managed to keep the pattern intact. It sort of looks like it. One side looks slightly different than the other, but the stitches are in fact the same. Don't look too closely, I'll just put my hair over it there. Yeah, everything is equal on both sides, mainly. And now it's fine. And the fix was actually very, very simple, and I wish that had been written into the pattern. So, but if you want to make it, and you want it to sit right, you can do that too. Perfect. Now it's the perfect jumper, and it's so cute and groovy. I love it, and I keep wearing it around, and every time I wear it, people stop me and say, "Where did you get that top?" And I'm like, I made it. So yeah, it's really good. And now I love it so much, I might make another one. I know, crazy, right? I'm even thinking, this is crazy, about making a summer one out of maybe like some linen or cotton or silk or something like that with short sleeves, because I think it'd be such a cute little summer top with the gingham and little short sleeves. I think it'd be really cute. Now that I know what to do with the top, I think it'd be gorgeous. Anyway, this is the Great Gingham sweater by Shara Made with my own modifications. Love it. Okay, so the next thing I did, I don't have with me because I've sent it to someone for their birthday, which was another finished object with yarn that I got at the Australian Sheep and Wool Show in Bendigo earlier this year. So I'm quite proud of myself that I've now made several projects, or started a project, with new acquisitions from the Australian Sheep and Wool Show, because I did get quite a bit of new yarn there. But I made my friend a pair of socks for her birthday, and I used this beautiful yarn from the Cola Girl Collective that I got at the Yarn Trader stall, and it's the Drover sock, and it's in the colour Sienna, and it's really cool. I'll pop in a photo of the socks here. and they're just vanilla toe-up socks, and I used a German short row heel, which is just one that I've written a pattern for that I pop into most of my toe-up sock patterns as well. And for the heel, I used the heel, toe and cuff. I used this Inca Spun Heritage sock yarn, and this is an alpaca, merino and nylon blend, and it's really soft and squishy. It makes beautiful socks and they wear really well. So I felt quite confident using that in the hard wearing area, so the cuff, the heel and the toe for those socks, and it made a nice match as well. So that's another finished object that I've made. So my next FO is my Arcturus Shawl, and it took me a really long time to finish this, but it's finally done and I love it. I was knitting this as part of a knit along, and you might remember seeing it from my previous episode. I showed a little bit of it. I hadn't gotten very far into it in that previous episode, but it's all done now. Love it. It's huge. Let me show it to you. Little tassel. Got a tassel down here as well. And a tassel on this end too. So it was really satisfying to knit on these mosaic sections here. Love watching the pattern emerge. Yeah, really nice. So the main colour here is a heirloom alpaca 4-ply fingering weight yarn, really soft, really nice to knit with. The colour is called Havana. And these two mosaic sections here, I used Zilana Cowrie fingering weight or 4-ply. The reddish colour here is called Rata Red, and the dark colour here is called Dark Tepo. And this one here is a 100% alpaca, and these Zilana Cowrie ones are a merino possum blend, and they're really nice, really beautiful. So I really enjoyed working on this project, and it's made such a gigantic shawl. It's so nice to wear. Just wrap yourself right up in it like a blanket. And that pattern is the Arcturus Shawl by me, and it's available on Ravelry and Etsy. So yeah, that's that pattern there. So I was really happy with that finished object. And my next finished object is another shawl, and this one I've been working on for a little while. I can't remember if I cast it on late last year or early this year, but it got put aside for a little while. Then a group I'm in online had a unfinished object challenge where they urged you to pick up an unfinished object that had been laying around for a while and finish it, and this is the one I decided to finish, and I'm really glad that I did. So it's the Delightful Waves Shawl by Drops Design. So it was a free pattern online, and the yarn that I'm using is a Lola yarn, and the colourway is called Hippie Galaxy. So it's a colour changing yarn. You don't have to do any of that work to change the colours. The yarn changes for you, which is always fun to work with, that sort of yarn, of course. Starts in the middle and grows. A very simple feather and fan type lace. Very easy pattern to knit. Not such an easy pattern to follow. The instructions were a bit vague, but I figured it out eventually. Yeah, quite good. Haven't decided yet whether I'll put tassels on this one like I did with the Arcturus Shawl, but probably because I love tassels. And I've got just enough yarn left to do tassels with it. So I'm really happy that I finish that one because it's so bright and fun. Doesn't go with this top at all, but yeah, it looks really good if you're wearing all black and you pop this on. Looks really cool. So that was another finished object, really fun. Next finished object is some mitts that I made. They're practically a finished object. So these are from a pattern that I've written called the Linear Mitts, and it's newly released on Ravelry. So these just need the ends woven in, but otherwise you can, this one needs its thumb finished, but this one's finished, just needs its ends woven in. So you can see how they go. A really nice, simple pattern, but really practical and a nice quick knit if you need a last minute gift. You could easily knit these in an afternoon or an evening, whatever time slot you've got for knitting. And you can see, I don't know if you can see, the gusset, the break and rib transitions really smoothly in the gusset there. There's no interruption to the pattern, which is very satisfying if you ask me. The yarn I've used for this particular pair is a Lans de Nord alpaca something. I've misplaced the label, so I can't tell you exactly, but it's really squishy and lofty. The yarn is really, I don't know if you can tell just by looking at that, but it's not a dense yarn at all. It's very light and lofty, so I'm really enjoying working with that one. I'll go and pop a photo in here. That's another pair of the linear mitts that I've made, and those ones are made using Milpost Merino DK in the apricot colour. And that pattern is newly released on Ravelry, and you can use the discount code LINEAR20, all caps, from now until Saturday the 24th of September 2022 to get 20% discount on that pattern price. So if you're interested in the linear mitts pattern with the yarn ends woven in, that is available on Ravelry now at an introductory discount price using that discount code. I'll pop a link in the show notes below that should take you directly to the pattern and drop the code into your browser, but just in case it doesn't work, the code is LINEAR20, all caps, all one word. So that's the linear mitts. That's my latest pattern release. Very simple, very easy, a really nice way to learn how to do a gusset while keeping a textured pattern intact. If that's something you'd like to learn, that pattern will show you how to do that. And that is all for my FOs. My next segment is acquisitions. So are you taking part in the West Knits mystery knit along this year? I am. I wasn't going to, and then a knitting group chat that I'm in started to get really excited about it, and everyone started talking about their colour choices and how excited they were about taking part, and I thought, I'm going to get really bad FOMO, I better just take part. And then I started seeing all the indie dyers posting all their beautiful kits, and that was it. I was sold. So let me show you my yarn choices. So I got a kit from the Pearl Box, and it is these colours here. That's pretty good representation. There you go, beautiful. These two are the main colours, and this is the contrast colour. And it is Oyster Yarns Nova. This is rose gold. Beautiful, like absolutely stunning. And the makeup of the yarn is 90% superwash merino, 10% linen. So it's really gorgeous. Like, oh my god, wish you could feel this. This one is called Mine, 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 and it's sort of a dusty purple brown kind of colour. It's hard to describe, but that's sort of accurate, I'd say. And this one is called Summertime, and it's a beautiful, delicious tangerine colour. Love it. Oh my god, I can't wait to get started. So excited, so excited. Absolutely thrilled. Something else I got from the Pearl box was some mohair silk. Let me show you. This was one that I already had in my stash. It's a mohair silk, the Oyster Yarns brand, and it's on the base. It's called Fluff for obvious reasons. And the colourway is called Dreaming. So this is one that I already had in my stash, and I needed a second skein of it for a project I have in mind. So I got a second skein of it. As you can see, they're a little bit different. This one's obviously a little bit lighter, but for the project I have in mind, it won't matter. They'll be able to be blended together. You use a single strand, but they'll be able to be successfully blended, and that will be just fine. But I also got this, which is some Oyster Yarns fluff as well, and the colour is called Pearlicious. Absolutely beautiful. And with those, separately, not together, I plan to make the pattern Ghost Whisperer by Park Williams. You might be familiar with it, you might not, but I'll link to it in the show notes below because it's really gorgeous and it's right up my alley. So I'm going to have a purple one and a blue one. Can't wait. So they're my yarn acquisitions, but I've got some other acquisitions. One of my other acquisitions was I got some new cables or cords for my interchangeable knitting needles. I'd seen people talking about these online. I thought, oh, I'll give those a go. Oh my god, I'm converted. I absolutely adore them. So I got some of these swivel cables from the Knitter's Pride Mindful collection. And let me just show you what they look like. Have I got one in here? Yes. So this is what they look like. It's a nylon coated stainless steel cable. They're memory free, so they don't retain a memory of the shape that they were in. They've got little markings on them. I don't know if that's apparent. 1-inch markings so that you can use them for measuring gauge and other things in your knitting. And these end parts swivel really freely. So when you've got your knitting on them, the knitting needle swivels. It doesn't get trapped in the position of the cable. Really handy, really, really handy. They also come with little end caps. I'll show you those. So these end caps. If you use Knitter's Pride or Knit Picks or Lidke knitting interchangeable needles, you might be more familiar with this type of end cap. They're exactly the same. Do the same function. They're just a different shape. And quite pretty. And a pin to tighten and loosen your cables. So I got a few more. Once I got one, I was like, mad, absolutely love them. So I got a few more. Absolutely love them. So if you are looking for some new cables, you want to try some new cables, I can highly, highly recommend the swivel cables from Knitter's Pride from the Mindful collection, and they fit all Knitter's Pride knit picks and Liquor needles and Tunisian crochet hooks. So yeah, great. Highly recommend them. Really, really good. My next acquisition is a project bag. Let me show you. So I'd seen someone else talking about these on their podcast, and I knew I needed one immediately. So it's the Hide and Hammer number 3 bag. So here we go. So it's made out of a heavy duty canvas and leather straps, and got a roll top, so you can fit quite a lot in here. It is large, and I don't know if you're going to be able to see in here down the barrel of the bag, but there's also room for crochet hooks or pens, another larger pocket here, these are all internal, for scissors, I don't know, a cable, I'm not sure what you want to put in there, whatever you feel like. And there's a larger pocket on this side that's about that size here, where you can put patterns and things like that. So yeah, really great. And it can be whatever size you need it to be, and you can still do it up. So you can easily fit a sweater project in here. Yeah, so you can still make it that large. Easily fit a sweater project in there, no problems, and then still carry it around. Really good. Absolutely love it. Gorgeous. It comes in a few different colours, but I loved the original mustard. It came really quickly. I ordered it from the Hammer and Hide website in the UK, and it came really, really quickly, and shipping was pretty cheap. So yeah, really in love with that. But I also made myself a project bag. Feel free to laugh at this one that I've made because it's not very good. But I made it. So hold on one moment and I'll show you. It's not as good as the previous bag I just showed you. So here's my bag that I made. It's got a wonky zip on it. Parts of it are strange. There's no square edges. It's very organic, but it does the trick and I'm really enjoying using it. So I got roughly a fat quarter of vintage wool fabric at the Australian Sheep and Wool Show in Bendigo earlier this year, and I knew I wanted to use it to make a project bag, but I didn't know what style or anything like that. I thought it would come to me when I needed it to, and it did. So I've made this a bag here. It's got a little tab there, a little handle there, zip down the middle. It's got these expanding pleats on the side here. It was actually really challenging to sew through several layers of the wool. If you've ever done that before, you know what I'm talking about. And it's got this shiny paisley lining, and a bunch of stuff inside, of course. But it's all contained. There's no holes in it or anything. But I definitely wouldn't sell it to anyone or give it as a gift. It's fine because it's just for me, but yeah, it's a bit wonky. Don't look too closely. I don't even know what's going on there, but yeah, that's my project bag that I made out of my vintage wool fabric. I love the colours. It's actually really soft. It's not scratchy or anything. It's really nice. Yeah, it is actually even though the sides are boinging out unequally. Yeah, so that is my project bag. You can actually fit a lot of stuff in this one, so that's handy. Yeah, my funny little project bag. But that is everything that I've got to show you today, so I hope you enjoyed that time with me today, and I would love to hear what you're working on, so pop a little comment down in the comment section below. I'd love to hear what you're working on at the moment. I've also got links and everything in the comment section below, so if there's anything that I've spoken about today, it'll be linked below. too. Alright, thanks so much for joining me today, and I'll see you again soon. Bye.